Lisa,
Yes, baby girl.
when I grow up, I want to be a woman to society.
Then so shall you be.
Hey, this is Lisa Landry. Welcome back to A Menace to Society. I'm thrilled to speak with today's guest. Please welcome to the podcast from Heart for the City, Arizona, Joe Eriquez.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. I appreciate you giving me the privilege to come and share the vision of Heart for the City.
What is your vision?
Our whole bottom line is to walk life with kids. We don't enable any kid, but we empower every kid. And we are a faith-based organization, so the bottom line is we want to share Christ with kids. So we walk life with kids to share Christ with kids.
So, what are some of your programs, Joe?
My vision always started out as, doesn't matter what side of the tracks you're born on, every kid should have the chance to succeed. One of the things that I started was knowing that, especially young junior high boys getting frustrated and having a lot of frustrations. I started a football program, and we started with 15 kids 11 years ago, and now we have between 150 to 180 junior high boys that play in our tackle football league, which we pay for all their pads and transportation. One of the schools that we worked with was in the 15% lowest reading bracket in Arizona, and at the end of the year, they were at 80%, and the principal pointed it to our program. And so the boys started feeling better about themselves. So when they got to school, they started holding their heads up higher. And it's all of that building up character and creating value in every kid's life to give them vision and hope. You know, it says that where there is no hope, the people perish. And so kids, when they feel hopeless, are dying left and right. But when they do have hope, they start to recognize that life is a lot bigger than maybe just their neighborhood or their own circumstances. So that was one of the things that we started. The next thing is to teach kids how to eat correctly. The quality vegetables and things aren't always there. So we started a community garden in the inner city of Glendale. And so from that, it's just under 3/4 acre of property, and we were told we could feed just about half the community now with all the produce we push out of that garden.
That's a lot of produce because I've been to Glendale, and that's not a very small area. It's pretty big.
No, and Glendale at one time was a farming community too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like where the Arizona Cardinals Stadium is, that was all farming land. And the old mall that when I was a kid, it wasn't there at all. But back in the late 60s and 70s, Metro Center was a cabbage field. And then it became the largest mall in the Southwest United States. So it's teaching kids from the seed up how to grow your own stuff, and then from that be able to pick it and eat it.
I like what you're doing. I want to talk with you about nutrition because I do know that there are nutritional deserts. A lot of grocery stores don't have access to fresh produce. Some kids can only go to the convenience store to get groceries because they don't have a car or their parents don't have transportation to a close by grocery. What kind of difference is this making in those kids' lives that they can grow vegetables now and eat them?
You know, one of the things is just exposing them to it, exposing them to the texture of the vegetables. Because a lot of kids, as they get older, if they haven't eaten enough vegetables, they start to eat salads and other stuff, and they go, I don't like it. Well, usually it's because they don't like the texture. So you introduce it to it early enough, and they'll start to be able to appreciate because they grew it. And our garden's about 4 years old, so I can't give you this, what has been the drastic change, but I do know this, that when kids go and work the garden, they're outside, they're working in the dirt, they're away from phones and away from all the other stuff that distracts kids, and they are loving it. They love being there. And so it's another avenue, it's another tool in the toolbox is what I always say.
Nature is healing. It's good to be outdoors, and it's great to be.
That's exactly
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I'm a huge fan. I believe in that. Like, you know.
Well, another thing that we do is we have 61 kids that go to a private Christian school. So we travel over 200 miles a day getting kids back and forth to school, plus we write over 400 scholarships for them to attend there. And we also have Java Grounds, which is a coffee shop restaurant we use as a workforce development. So kids get job skills, life skills, and culinary skills there. And now we're opening up another one right in the City Hall of Peoria and be able to put more kids to work. And so you're teaching kids those valuable lessons. You know, I was a paper boy when I was a kid. and I didn't have a smartphone or a calculator, you had to count change back to a customer because you knew the math. And it's amazing how many kids can't count change back until the register tells them how much to count it back. So it's given them those needed skills. It's also given them those skills to be able to talk to people and be in front of people and not be in front of a phone or an iPad and those type of things.
You know, that's really important. I mean, I'm not a teenager and I can't do math either. Like basic math is hard for me when I make a cash transaction, I'll be honest. So it's really amazing. You're taking these young people, you're teaching them how to grow their own food if they choose to, how to be outside and feel healthier, how to feel more self-confident, maybe giving them a masculine influence if they don't have one in the home. And on top of that, you're putting them to work at a coffee house.
And we're educating them. And then the other things that we do is, like, we provided over 4,000 Christmas presents to inner city kids and their families. And what we do is I have Santa Claus go to different Title I schools, and he gets there either by fire truck or he lands by helicopter. And then every kid in the school gets a gift.
That's rad.
And so what happens is all the kids that have come up through the program, we always take about 20 or more kids to every school, and they're the ones who are helping wrapping the gifts, and they're the ones handing out the gifts. Nothing's more empowering than a kid who doesn't have any money all of a sudden is making another kid happy because they're able to hand them a Christmas present. That's an empowering thing to a kid. And all of a sudden their own value starts to rise up in their life because they start to think, I can do this as I get older. The very thing, and so you're teaching them. Jesus said, the Son of Man came to serve, not to be served, and to give his life as a ransom for many. And so what I teach kids is to serve. You're going to give back. Your life isn't about you. It's about everybody else. And the minute that we focus on ourselves, and that's all we do is focus on us, then our problems are huge. But the minute we give our lives away and we start to help others, even when we don't think we have the means to be able to help others, but we're empowered by people who are walking life with us to empower other people, wow, our lives start to have importance and our problems seem to dissipate.
So you're teaching these young people stewardship.
That's exactly right.
That's kind of a lost thing, don't you think? I mean, it seems we used to be much more connected to our communities, and we've kind of gotten away from that as a culture in America.
Well, in the barrios, one of the nice things in the barrio is that, yeah, there may be tires all in the front yard, and there might be cars parked in the front yard and grass that's high, but you have nanas and tatas and everybody who are outside, and the kids are outside, and they're all playing, and they're having community. But in suburbia, what ends up happening is that we go home, and we hit a button, and our garage doors open, and we pull our cars in, and then we push another button, and our garage door closes, and we isolate ourselves from our neighbors. And so we don't know how to have community anymore. And it's a little different like in New York City and things like that, because everybody kind of sits on the stoops and they have community and do like that. But in areas like ours, where it's a little more spread out and things, people don't have that natural community that they once did when I grew up.
Yeah, I miss that. I'm glad you're bringing it back. I do see sort of a resurgence in trying to make that happen, and I think it's fantastic.
Well, the more that we go to online shopping and everything is online, and we're not getting out to the malls and we're not going out shopping, the less communicative. We're not having community anywhere. Because, again, even though it was a hassle to take kids Christmas shopping in a mall, you bump into people that you know and you're modeling how to be family and how to be friends and how to have community to your kids. Well, the more we do online stuff, the less we're modeling that. Because all we're doing is pushing a button, it comes to us, and then that's that.
Some people are going to be listening to this and they're going to be like, oh, it's a Christ-based thing. I don't want to listen to this episode. What would you share with somebody who might be turned off just because they hear the word Jesus or Christ in context to the good, amazing work that you are doing for the community?
Well, I would say this. One, I can understand what they're saying. But two, you'd have to see what we do compared to just hearing what we do. Because kids would rather see a sermon before they ever hear one. And so we walk life. Before we even ever share the gospel or anything, our lives have to emulate what the gospel is. So if we're not living it, then it doesn't give us the power to even share it. And so when kids listen, they're listening because they've watched our life for months or a year, and they're going, wow, there's something different about that person. Nothing is shoved down a kid's face. Nothing is forced on anybody. But I will say this. I know, like, one of our little girls missed 83 days her 8th grade year. We brought her with us. We got her involved in our volleyball program, got her involved, bringing her to the private school, and she graduated in National Honor Society.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And I have plenty of those stories like that. One kid was living in a shelter with his mom. We got him involved with us. He started playing football at the private school, and he got a full ride scholarship in Colorado. So, you know, you can argue, hey, I don't think you should be doing this, sharing this Jesus. But if it's Jesus that is helping the transformation, then someone will have to tell me the harm. Every person has their own choice, just as we live in a three-dimensional society, a theonomous society, meaning that theo, we used to live it. We all had this fear of God, whether we believed in that fear was a respect. It wasn't a, oh my gosh, it was a fear. It was a respect to him. And we lived in that respect. And then there's a Hermannist society. A Hermannist society is just more of a society that lives as it's autocratic. It's a Stalin's, it's a Hitler. It's the way I believe. It's the only way it's to believe, right? And then you have an autonomous society. Let me live the way that I want to live. And I'm not telling you how to live, but the minute you disagree with someone, then they go into a Hermannist society because now all of a sudden they're saying, no, I don't believe what you believe, and I want you to believe this. So it's a back and forth argument. Instead of going, wait, let's see the results. What's the positive coming out of this? Is there something to all of this? Does that all make sense?
So it makes a lot of sense to me. I would go for the autonomous society if I had my selection from those options that you just
Sure.
discussed. And also, I do agree with you. I think that we have reached a point in this society where oftentimes we just close down to what the other is saying if we don't agree with certain perceptions we might already have about the subject, instead of listening
Right.
to one another and seeing the value in what each human can bring to any equation.
I have kids that are Muslims in our program, who are Hindus. I mean, I can go on, and they are not put down for what they believe. They're a kid, and we're here to love them, not to condemn them.
What do you guys have going next? What are your big plans coming up, Joe? Because, I mean, my gosh, if anybody wants to look at this website, people really should check out what you're doing. HeartfortheCityAZ.org. You've got so many activities plans for these kids. You've got videos for YouTube or on YouTube, success
Yeah.
stories.
Well, we have our big gala coming up, which is our Valentine Affair. So 11 years ago, I started with 60 people in a backyard sharing a vision of what we'd be doing. And now we average between 700 and 800.
What?
Yeah. So it's a big gala. We have silent auction items, and we'll be raffling off a 2019 Toyota Camry. And I don't have keynote speakers. My keynote speaker are my kids. So they hear about 4 or 5 different testimonies from all these kids. And what's really awesome is, I'll give you an example. One of our little girls, she spoke about 4 or 5 years ago, and she said something that was so profound and so unbelievable. But she looked at all these people, and she's a Latina, and she's looking at all these folks that are out there, and she said, I didn't know white people could be this nice to me. But the point is, you know where that little girl is now? She's at Huntington College.
Rad.
And she's an animator. She's going to be graduating with her animation degree, and she's an unbelievable artist. So again, when people hear the perception, it's Jesus. Well, it's transformation by walking life, and we walk life with kids.
I celebrate what you're doing, Joe. Thank you so very much.
Well, thank you for the privilege of you allowing me to share, and you keep up your great work as you are sharing with people all the great things that are going on across America. Because if we just watch the news, then we're doom and gloom. But there are a lot of great people in America doing a lot of great things.
Joe Eriquez, thank you so much for what you are doing for the amazing young people of Arizona. Ari, I love you, baby bear. We've been to Arizona quite a few times. We should go back and plant something with Joe. Please join me at lisalandry.com. You can sign up for my YouTube channel. If you subscribe, you will know when each new podcast drops every Womanist Wednesday. Also, please do check out heartforthecityaz.org, and there you will see what Joe and the kids are doing. There's a lot of good stuff on that website, y'all.